Hey, thanks for tuning in to Big Air Videos and checking out our latest tower, the Twister Tower. Super cool, built on the foundation of everything we've learned and has some really cool traits. As you can see, the biggest thing is we're going to walk you through from unboxing to building it up to where it is now. But as we do on the front end, just the coolest thing on this is this swiveling rack with this really nice billet machine work here. This one's powder coated. You can get it in polished if you want, but look at that swivel built into there. Double bar, double H if you will, super strong. This comes off our Vapor platform. It's a really, really good tower. And so let's walk you along and show you how the Twister Tower should be on your boat. So this is the unboxed Twister Tower, if you will. Not every last bolt is shown right here, but a majority of what you will experience is here. This tower is based on the platform of a Vapor or even a Haas tower, in the fact that it has these lower legs here, if you will. These are mounted to your boat hull. In this view here, as you can see, we've already put on our leg swivel connections and so on, and we'll get to those later on. Also, we have our H-member. Over here, we have our rear leg assembly here, and then the subcomponents, if you will. And really the most notable thing is we've got our forks here. These are wake forks. You can run 2 wakeboards. But on the Big Air site, you can spec these out with a combo, a knee board or a surfboard, so on. Pick some options out there. But these are the components that go into this assembly. These are the corners. These 2 corners, actually, they go to these, what we call the front legs. And these 2, as you can tell, have a different end. And they'll go to the rear leg sub-assembly. H-member, in case we didn't mention that. And notable thing here real quick, and we'll touch again on it later on, is these are the front legs. You can run them convex or concave, essentially bulging out forward or, if you will, swooping inward. I'm a fan of more of the concave swooping inward. I think it gives a better look, but either is fine. And so we'll move on to a semi-assembled tower and talk about the key things. The most notable thing we're going to talk about is this rear leg assembly section here. All right, what we got here is the front leg. Very simple piece here, and we have an eye mount. This is really the only assembly that goes into this. Uses a 10mm bolt with a lock washer. And what's unique about the eye mount is that it has no threads here. That's how you'll know it's an eye mount. It just sits down in here, and then you'll thread it up. This is a T-handle, did not come in there. You can get you some of these nice wrenches at Harbor Freight or Walmart, wherever, or online, Amazon. And just go ahead and bump this thing up, not tight. I should be able to turn it a little bit. Everything we have on this tower, we want to keep just bumped up, not tight, so we can set everything. Then we'll tighten it up at the end. So that's the front leg, eye mount. Let's go on to the next step. All right, our Twister Tower is up in the studio. Obviously, it's not attached to a boat, but this is what it looks like, and I think it looks great. It's got the concave legs, look great. I love it like this. This is the configuration I prefer. The bottom bars, everything's in place. Real quick, on the bottom bar installation onto your boat, this can be seen in other videos, such as a Vapor install and so on. It's Haas, it's all the same setup as that goes. So you can go to those videos to see how to install those. But let's go ahead and jump into the front connections here, and we're going to talk about our connectors here, if you will. So first of all, we've got an eye mount here coming out of this leg here, going into a swivel. We're threading into the swivel itself, and then we come down to what we call a leg end right here. And so we go through the swivel here with the bolt, and then we thread into this connection here, this leg end here, okay? Very simple. So yes, it will move around a little bit initially, but with that said, don't worry, bump them, tighten them up a little bit. When you get your final installation, you can tighten everything up. But so just make it so it doesn't move around on you to an extreme degree. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to, let's go to the top right here. So that's our front leg. This is our rear leg assembly, if you will. Kind of unique for a Twister Tower, obviously. We're going to talk about this whole sub-assembly elsewhere later on in the video. But for now, let's just talk about here. Here we have our cap and our bolt going through into our leg end here. It's threading through. Once again, snug it up. You can tighten them up later on. Now we're going to go to the bottom here. Very similar to the front. In fact, almost identical, other than the fact that we're using a cap here, as you saw above, going through into the swivel, tighten, and same connections going down there. Now, with that said, while we're on this video, let's go ahead and talk about these little plastic pieces here. So when you're sliding your corners into an H member, you can use grease. It's not bad, but some of us are neat freaks, such as myself, and we just don't like that mess. That's what these little plastic sleeves are for. So you slide them in, preceding sliding the corner in, or insert them over. You'll figure out how to do it. And they protect your powder coat finish and allow very simple or easy sliding without scratching this surface. And then when you're finally done, you've got it all drilled, bolted up, you'll just take a blade, a razor blade or a box knife, and cut this excess off, and no one will ever know it's there. And that way you don't have to deal with all the grease and so on. So let's move on forward in the video to the next chapter. Okay, this is the rear leg assembly. All the terminology we use here may not match the manual. Read the manual, but we're going to show you how it all goes together. This mid bar, the first thing you do is use these 10mm bolts, and you're going to slide these plates right inside. They've actually got a nice little guide path you can see there, and then we're just going to take these bolts with washers on there. We'll tighten that up. Don't need to show you all that. And then the next step is going to be this plate here. Note, this is the liner. Fits into here. Note one notable thing here. There's a hole there, a threaded hole. There's a hole there. They go together like that. You can snap them in, and then we're just going to put this piece under here. In a second, if I can hold my mouth just right. There we go. I'll get that, and then we'll put that in there and some movie magic, and we're going to have this assembled. Little movie magic, and we've got this together. Remember, our liners are in here. Our hole lines up with the hole in the liner. These are broached holes, so we put our nylock nuts in there, and then we've come in and we take our bolts through, tighten them up, not crazy tight, but snug. They're in place. And then our next step is we're going to go ahead and take these plates. They're symmetrical. They're threaded here, these two holes. We're going to set them right in there, and we're going to bolt these in. And next shot, you're going to see these guys in place. Okay, a little more movie magic, and we've got our plates on. Very simply, you can see the bolts are coming through here. Simply, they just came in through here, and we tightened them up. Tighten these snug. There's no reason not to tighten these up tight now. They're not going to move. And then if you want, you can go ahead and put your, this is a knob that allows us to control the swivel. When we tighten this down, it stops. So right now, this whole platform can rotate on this shaft using these liners. Note, this is a set of forks. They will go on the opposing side. They're threaded, okay? Simply drop in the bolt. It would go through and tighten into whatever fork you choose. This is a wake fork, but you could get a combo or any forks offered on our site. We'll match this pattern. I know you're going to ask that question. It's a different pattern. It's always the same bolt pattern. So pick what you want, bolt them up, and we'll cover that more later on too. All right, it's together. Ta-da! Of course, it's in the studio. It's not on your boat, but still, hopefully this video has helped you out along the way. The notable things, repeat the process that we did earlier over here. Let's talk about the top here, our H member, the width, and so on. So first of all, we want this level, but we want it level with the floor of your boat. That's our standard. So get your boat floor level with your jack, your tongue jack, if you will, and then you can level this out. It simply adjusts there. Now, one of the more notable things, and you can see it in our other videos though, is we want to bring this corners into the H member, and we want this centered. And so a lot of times the trick is when we've got an H or a corner out, we'll put inch marks starting from the end, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can erase them or clean them off later on. On black, you'll need to use a white paint pen. On the polish, you can use a Sharpie, and it wipes off quite easily with some carb cleaner or something like that. If not, you can also measure, if you will, from a point here to a leg end. But one of the bigger things is we want to talk about is we want this preloaded. And so if it's on your boat, sometimes to take out any swing and sway that we have, we do what's called preload. And so I would take ratchet straps, and you can see this in some of our other videos. I might tie on here, go to here, here to here, and then do the same from there and pull them in equal distance. So if I'm 8 inches from this end here, I want 8 inches here. Now, the front and back will vary a little bit, but they need to be equal. These two are equal, and these two are equal. And I like to see from a neutral standpoint, 4 to 6 inches of preload would be a nice number. You can do more if you want, but there's not a must, but we want them snugged up. But once that's set, you're going to drill your holes. I'd like to put a tarp down, catch all those cuttings. You don't want those in your carpet, so a tarp's a great way to do that. Might even have someone with a vacuum running, catching your chips. But that's it. Tighten them up nice and tight. Go through. Now, take every bolt, put the Loctite on there, set it tight. You can use a Sharpie or a piece of tape to make sure everything's lined up the way you wanted it. And you've got a twister tower ready to go. And simply, all you do is dump that knob off there, and you can swivel. Pick whatever forks you want. Remember, swivel them to the inside. Check that out. And go back out to there. And I'll show you here on this one too, just for fun. Here's one with forks. So if the forks are there, just swivel it. Oops, I gotta back it out a little more. Oh, maybe. Sorry. There we go. And there you go. And that's such a sweet option. Built in, easy in, easy out, whatever forks you want. That's a twister tower. Thanks for buying Big Air products. Have a great day, and we'll see you at the lake.